Hey guys, and welcome to FaithWorks Designs. I'm Faith, and today we are doing another exciting collaboration because it's not only with K&A Custom Fabrics, but it's also with Fabric Therapy. Now, the team members got together and they wanted to do a collaboration of a box. All of this is retail, guys. You do not have to wait for pre-order. You can buy it retail and have it shipped pretty quickly. So we have little Mario going through the game on the front. And the entire bag is supposed to look like a Game Boy. So you've got all of your little buttons and your little air vent there. That was the air vent, right? Like to cool everything down. You've got everything you need right there. You've got your own little big Game Boy. So everything I'm showing you is going to be in the box. You've got your little fire plants for zippers. In the back, you've got your webbing, which is really cool. Reminds me of the racing stripes. You've also got this really cool game over plate, and I thought it was kind of funny that they made it game over for the front and game over for the back, 'cause it's over. Anyway, so you have your really cool racing straps, and then on the back, this tickled me way more than it should have, but I remember these little guys trying to kill me when I was younger. The little smashy guys, you would try and run past them and they would just smash you. Those are on the very bottom of your buckles, and you have little swivel clasps to connect everything together. Anyway, on the inside we have got Mario print, and there's a ton of different Marios, and it even has Cat Mario, which one of my kids will be very excited about. They have a bunch of Marios, but there is also one zipper pocket on the inside. There is also on the side of the bag, I've seen this on a lot of bags lately, for like your keys or something like that for your kids to hang stuff on. There's also a D-ring on the side so that you guys can hang stuff off of that. It's just a little extra feature. Hopefully you guys like it. Alright, that was a lot. That was a lot. Alright, let's get started. Alright guys, so let me show you all of the pieces that come with your box. First, let's talk about webbing. In the box you'll receive a 1-inch wide webbing, and you'll have plenty that you need for your straps, and we'll talk about strap measurements in just a little bit. Your 1-inch strap adjusters. You're also going to need your 1-inch swivel clasp. You're going to need a 1-inch D-ring, and then you also can get these really cool. Like, is anybody else going back to their childhood? I used to play this game all the time with my brother. And I just see these things and they come right to mind. So anyway, to go with your zippers, you're going to also receive just enough zipper tape. It's a number 5 zipper tape to go along with your bag. Lastly, your roll will come up all rolled up like this. This particular one is pebbled. I believe that is the one that is coming out first. And then I believe later on, possibly you could get other bases. But for right now, that is what they're offering in this kit. I'm filling out the lining. Oh my word. Okay. Coolness. Coolness. Okay. So we have got our front panel. We have got our zipper gusset. We have got our main gusset. We have got our little strap connectors, and then we've also got our back. Then you also have your lining of all of your pieces. So let's talk interfacing and other materials that you're going to need to finish this bag. I am using a one-sided interface foam. I will try and put a link down below where you can get this from, but it just gives the bag a little more body since it's a book bag, and we kind of want the book bag to kind of stand up on its own. You will not be adhering your pieces to this because it's vinyl, so you really can't iron it on. So it's actually going to be more of like a sew-in interfacing. And then if you're using the pebble vinyl, you're going to want to grab some Decovil Light or Decovil Heavy or whatever you normally use for a vinyl. That's what you're going to need for this project. The inside lining is a cotton woven, or at least in mine, It's cotton woven. So I am also using a Pellon 950F. I like 950F because it's a little bit thicker, but if you want to use SF101, you'll be just fine. Alright, so I started doing this recently just to kind of save myself some time and energy. What I did was I started using 2 different sheets of interfacing. So for mine that I'm making today, I am using a Pellon 950F. If not, I'll put it on the screen. And what I do is I normally just take, I know I'm going to be using this entire panel, so there's not going to be a whole lot of waste. So what I did was I went ahead and laid it out, and I cut a sheet for this side and a sheet for this side, and then ironed it all on. So all of my pieces are interfaced. All I have to do now is cut it. Before, what I would do is I'd cut out each individual piece and then each individual thing of interfacing and interface it together. This just makes the process go so much faster. And I felt like before maybe you'd be having a lot of waste, but when you're doing this, there's not a whole lot of waste because you're cutting the interfacing exactly for what you need it. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out all of my pieces. And you're just going to be cutting along that white line. Now that we have all of our lining pieces cut out, I went back and I went ahead and cut the corners so I could just kind of take my time doing that, because when you're trying to cut all of this for a video, you tend to do it kind of fast, and I didn't want to mess up my corners. So that is all done. We're going to put this aside, and now we are going to grab the body of our bag, and we are going to do the same exact thing. I am not interfacing the back yet. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut all of these pieces out, and then when we have everything cut out, I'll show you how to put the Decoville light on the back and how to cut out the Decoville light. Alright, interfacing, cutting out your Decoville light. So what I ended up doing for the little D-ring pieces is I cut a 3/4 inch rectangle for those, and I'm going to be applying those to the center. I am going to take you to the ironing board with me so that you can see what I'm doing. I also went ahead and I cut out some strips for my zipper gusset, and then what I did was I just measured 1/2 inch smaller. So it'll be about 1/2 inch smaller so that we can have 1/4 inch on each side to be out of our seam allowance, so that when we sew it, that's one more layer that we don't have to deal with. And I cut 4 of these. I'm going to trim them to size when I do them at my ironing board. Then I took my bottom gusset and I measured 1/2 inch smaller, and that way my Decoville light is 1/4 inch all the way around, shorter, and again, it's not in your seam allowance. And I'm going to take this to this ironing board, and then if you didn't know, for applying Decoville light is you're going to be applying it to the back like this, and then I'm just going to iron that on and then add this piece and then cut it at the ironing board 1/4 inch shorter on this end right there, so again, it's not in the seam allowances. I always tend to wait till I get over there before I start doing stuff like that. Alright, now that that's done, let's talk about these big boys. For each one, you're going to want to make your Decoville light 1/4 inch shorter all the way around so that it's not in your seam allowance. And you can measure this out. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. And what I do is I just mark it out while I have it on my piece. And then you can measure it out. You can freehand it. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can. Okay. Alright, so I am just going to freehand a 1/4 inch on this corner and a 1/4 inch on this corner, and then I'm going to cut it out. And I know that you cannot see that red pen. Sorry about that. But I am going to do that for both of my front and my back panels, for the outside panels. So I have got my Decoville light ready to go, and then I'll just take it over into my ironing board and then just iron my Decoville light on. Let me do the second one real quick. So I'm just going to center my Decoville light on there like that, and then you're just going to leave it for a couple of seconds to get heated up so that that glue, the shiny side, is supposed to be shiny side down, so that glue adheres to your vinyl. It's about time for me to clean my iron. Alright, so I'm going to lay the second piece down, and then I'm just going to cut a 1/4 inch shorter. It's just easier for me to just do this at the ironing board. Alright, that piece is done. When it's hot, don't put it on your cutting mat because it will warp your cutting mat. Ask me how I know. Alright, then we're going to grab our little D-rings and we're going to put those in the center. Now we're going to do the zipper gusset, same thing, making sure that 1/4 inch down this end and that end, just so that it's out of your seams and you don't have to deal with that if you have a domestic or if your machine just doesn't like layers. And then I'm going to grab another piece, making sure that the slick side or the like glue side is down. Alright, and then just do the same thing with the other gusset. Alright, now we're going to do the main body. And you don't want to take your time, just making sure that that Decoville light is adhering to this. Especially on the corners, you want to make sure that they are nice and adhered. Now we're going to go ahead and just start working on our lining, and we're going to go ahead and just get that done. It's the easiest thing and it'll be super quick. So let's do that. First thing you want to do is you want to grab your very back panel, because this is the side where our zipper is going to go on. And in order to find the correct lining piece, because your lining pieces are mirrored because of the way they have to go on the bag. So in order to find the correct lining piece, what I do is take my back panel, lay it right sides down, and get your other lining piece. This is going to be one of the bags that we use, and we use binding, so it's going to be sandwiched together just like this, and that's how you're going to tell that this is your back panel. This is the one that we're going to make our zipper pocket on. We're going to grab one of our zipper pocket panels. I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to grab my ruler, and I am going to put this in the center, And then I have it 1 inch up, and then 1 inch over, and then 1 inch over on this side. And I'm going to connect the two at that inch mark. Then I'm going to lift my ruler up and place the 1/2 inch on the first line that I just drew and make another line. That is going to be your rectangle for your zipper pocket. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pattern, and hopefully this isn't sideways for you guys. I'm going to take my pattern, and it needs to be 3.5 inches down. So you're going to have 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on this side, 3.5 down. Now I know that it's kind of difficult to put any kind of clips or any way to keep this straight, so what I normally do is just pick my hand up under the bottom, hand on the top, and then carry it to my sewing machine. If you need to, you can take one of your little rulers and you can just measure at your desk 3.5 down, 1 over, 1 over. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch all the way around our rectangle. I have got my stitch length to a 2.5. I have got a number 12 in my industrial machine, a 12 needle, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to sew around our little rectangle. Alright, now that we've got this all sewn around, I went ahead and cut my strings and burned the ends. If you've got nylon thread, you're going to want to do that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and put it right down the center, and then about 1/4 inch, give or take, from the end I'm going to start making a line down to about 1/4 inch on this side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little triangle on each end, and I'll show you closer up so you can see it. But that's what it looks like. You want a little triangle on this end and on this end. Now what we're going to do is I have 2 pairs of scissors for this task. This one and this one. What I'm going to do is I am going to cut a nip in this. Alright. And then I'm going to cut down to where my triangle peaks are. Stop there. Now I'm going to go in the opposite direction and go to my little triangle peaks and stop there. And then I'm going to take my little snips and we're going to cut on one side of that triangle up until our stitches. We don't want to cut our stitches because that will mess everything up. So just cut your little triangles out without, you want to cut close to your stitches, but you don't want to cut your stitches, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay, now we're going to turn this inside out, and then we're going to take it to the ironing board and kind of press this out. You're going to want to push all of this in and this side in. And you want that to lay as flat as you can. If you cut close enough to your triangles, it should lay pretty well flat. So take this like this to the ironing board and press that down. Alright, now that we've got our zipper pocket ironed and ready to roll, I have got an 8.5 inch zipper, and I have got one of the cool flower plant zipper pulls. Before I put my zipper pull on, the first thing that I'm going to do is grab some 1/4 inch double-sided tape. I like putting my double-sided tape on first because when you put your zipper pull on, the zipper tape kind of wants to go wonky. You guys know what I'm talking about? There's like a bump where the zipper pull is when you're trying to do things. So I like to do this first. Do my double-sided tape on one end, on one side, and then put another thing of double-sided tape on the other side. This is going to help us line up our zipper tape. Now we're going to open our zipper teeth up, And the way that I do it, if you have a zipper jig, you can use that now, but I normally put my left side in first and then my right side in like that. And then you want to try and make sure right here that the teeth are even when you pull it on. Man, K&A's zipper pulls are killing me. They are so easy to get on. Just like bam. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this to our zipper pouch. So we're going to take the tape off the top one and we're going to lay it down on our table like that. And then we're going to kind of line up. You need to have some excess zipper tape on each side of your open zipper part, and then you can just press it down when it's right where you want it to be. And then I'm going to get this little guy out of my way and flip all of this up. And then we're going to take the double-sided tape out of here, flip it back down, and just let it fall where it wants to. You shouldn't be shifting things around. Just let it fall and do its thing. Now let's go back to the sewing machine, and we're going to top stitch all the way around this with a 4-stitch length all the way around. Alright, so I've got my stitch length set at a 4. You can start anywhere on your line. And I'm trying to do this with the camera in my face, so let's hope it's straight. Now, making sure that your needle is down, turn it, and we're going to go over it, our zipper, and then back up a few back stitches, and then back over it again. And you're just going 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Stop and get my threads out of here. Same thing, needle down, we're going to pivot, go over our zipper, backstitch, go over our zipper again, needle down, alright, now that we have our zipper all sewn in, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our other zipper panel, and we're going to put right side to right side. And then I am just going to clip along the top real quick. What we're going to do is we're going to take this like this. You can start anywhere that you want, but we are going to be sewing all the way around the edge of this thing to close this pocket up. My stitch length is at a 2.5, by the way. Now that your zipper pocket is all sewn up, you should be able to open your zipper and see your cute little Mario pocket on the inside. Now we need to take care of a couple of things first before we move on. The first thing is going to be all of these corners. You need to have your stitches set at a 2.5. And then you need to go to where you've got corners and meet those corners up. We're going to do this on all 3 sides. I'm going to get the other side. And then I've got one more. You should have 3 of these squares on the corners. So you're going to want to do this too. Once you've done all 3 corners, your lining panel is going to have this weird shape. We want that for the ultimate bag. So now that you've got one of your lining pieces done, we need to go get the other lining piece. We're going to do the exact same thing on this lining piece that we just did to that one. We're going to grab all 3 corners and we're going to clip those together and then sew at a 1/4 of an inch, if I didn't say that before. Sew at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance right here. And making sure to backstitch as well. Any of that. Alright, so your lining should look like this. All three of the corners should have those little squares sewn together with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And so your lining for this part is all done. Now we're going to work on the fun part, the outside. So we're going to grab our outside pieces, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab the foam that I told you guys about in the beginning, and I am going to take my pieces and lay them out on top of my foam, and I am going, hopefully you can see it, okay, I am going to cut around these pieces using the foam as my guide. When we get everything cut out, we're just going to kind of base stitch all the way around so that the vinyl and the foam become one piece. So as you get done with them, just kind of set them aside, and then we're going to take them to the sewing machine. And with a 4 stitch length, we're going to go all the way around, just kind of base stitch these two together. Alright, so we're just base stitching all the way around using a 4 stitch length. I have changed my thread out to a gray 4 stitches. I still have my 12 needle in. Alright, now that you have got all of your pieces base stitched to the foam, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did to our lining fabric. We're going to take these corners and we're going to put them together like that, and then out of a 1/4 of an inch we're going to stitch these together. Alright, now that we have got all of our corners done on our main panel, we're going to go ahead and join up our lining and our main panel. And how we're going to do that is we're going to put them wrong side to wrong side. So I am going to match up these little corners right here at the top. And I'm just going to clip all the way around. Alright, once you've got it all clipped, we're going to go ahead and take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from the edge with a 4 stitch length. Alright, we're going to base stitch everything in place. My stitches are at a 4, or my stitch length is at a 4. So now we are working on the back panel. We've already got it interfaced with the foam. We're just going to real quick put our little game over tag on there. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler and we're going to center it as best we can with 4 inches up, and then make sure that your ruler is centered. Once you find the center, you're going to take your little washer piece and you're going to center that. Here's our center right here. We're going to center our washer piece right there. And what I like to do is I like to take my little feet and pull them up and then see where they fit best on your washer. So mine fit best in the two holes that are right next to the last ones. So that's where I'm going to make my marks. So I'm going to put this back down, center it again. I'm going to put my finger here. I'm going to find my marking tool that disappeared. I'm going to mark inside of this one. Alright, now I am going to remove my washer. I'm going to grab my seam ripper. And I didn't do this before I put my foam on because the foam will actually act like a really nice barrier to keep your game over tag on. It'll just be that cushion or interfacing that it needs. So you're just going to put your seam ripper in there and just rip a little. A little goes a long way. So then you're going to put your game over tag in like that, nice and straight. And then you're going to take your washer, put it like that, push it down, and then put your little feet down. And there we go, game over. Alright, so now that we've got that done on our back panel, the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing all of our back hardware. So you should have your two little guys that are a little grumpy looking. You should have two of your swivel clasps, and you should have two of your adjusters. There you go. I can't talk today. It's fine. Alright, we're also going to grab our webbing. What I'm going to do is, it's all in one continuous thing on mine, and I plan on this bag being for a child. So I'm going to measure out my straps to be 40 inches. And I'm going to make sure that I have two 40-inch straps. Once I have my two 40-inch straps, I'm also going to burn the ends. And then I'm going to burn the other ends just to make sure that nobody's unraveling. Alright, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab our strap adjusters. So there's a side that you can kind of see has where the bar has like bent over. We're going to face that up, and we're going to put our straps through there. I'm going to leave out about an inch, inch and a half, inch and a quarter, and I'm going to clip it because we're going to take this to the sewing machine. And I am going to do that for both of my strap adjusters. Alright, so let's take this, let's take this to the sewing machine. Alright, so I have got my stitches at a 2.5. I have put a little over an inch over the edge here. Just make sure whatever tail you have on this one, you want to make sure that it's the same on your other one. So I am just going to make a little box. Alright, now go do that to your other one. Do the same exact thing to your other one. Alright, so we have got both of our straps all done. We're going to set this aside for just a minute. You're going to need to get your back panel that we've just finished, and you're going to go ahead and sew up the sides just like you did on your front panel. After you've done that, we're going to grab our lining, and we're going to put wrong side to wrong side of our front panel and our lining panel, and then we are going to clip all the way around, and we're going to sew all the way around. Take this to your sewing machine at 1/8 of an inch. Go ahead with 4 stitch length. Go ahead and base stitch your lining to your outer panel, 4 stitch length, and we are going to be base stitching the lining and the top fabric together with at an eighth of an inch from the edge. Alright, now that we have got the lining attached to the outside panel, we're going to start working on all of the hardware that connects to the back panel. Grab our D-ring strap thing pieces. We've got 3 of them because we're going to put a D-ring on the side of our bag, and the other 2 are going to connect our straps to our bag. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line down the center. And then I am going to grab some 1/2 inch double-sided tape, and we're going to make the sides meet with the center. Alright, so I'm just putting the tape right down the center. And I like the 1/2 inch for this because it just makes those sides stay nice and still while I'm trying to work on them. Alright, so we're going to take one of these and take the tape off the side. And then have your sides meet in the center. And then with a 4 stitch length, we're going to sew these sides down. At 1/4 of an inch from the side, you're going to sew down, come over, and then back up again. So let's go do that. Alright, so I've got the one I've got done. We're going to sew down 1/4 of an inch with a 4 stitch length. We're going to grab our other 2 little D-ring pieces, and we're going to grab our other little crazy guys. So I'm going to put the D-ring part on our little guy and fold it over like this so that the ends meet. Now this is going to be the hard part. Right here on your pattern, you see how it kind of slopes down and then there's kind of a point right here? You're going to want to line this up so that there's about 1/2 an inch between that little point and where your D-ring thing is. If it were just another corner like this, it'd be super easy, but you're just going to have to kind of place it where you think is best. Now we're going to place our other one on our hook like that. And then it was also 1/2 inch from our seam here to here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to base stitch these in place. I have my stitch length at a 4. And we are just going to base stitch these on. Alright, so we have got our back panel in the works. Alright, now we're going to grab our webbing and we're going to grab one of our swivel clasps. Now what you're going to need to do is on the side where we folded it over and you can kind of see the end right here, you're going to need to keep this nice and straight, go all the way down to the end, and we're going to put our swivel clasp on like this so that you can see the bottom of the swivel clasp. We're going to be keeping this nice and straight, and I'm bringing the tail back up and I'm going to put it up into our strap adjuster and then back down our strap adjuster. the top of this strap adjuster is going to get base stitched at the top of our book bag, and then this connector is going to connect to the bottom of our bag. But I feel as though we need to do that one more time. What about you? Let's do that one more time. Alright, so we have got our strap adjuster, our webbing, our end where we can see it, and we're going to go down as straight down. Put our strap swivel clasp on just like this, and I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of keeping it all straight. Okay, should look like that. We're going to take this tail that I've got in my hand, we're going to put it up into our strap adjuster, and then back down our strap adjuster. And I like to pull it through a little ways just to kind of get all of this out of my way. Now, in order to place our strap, we're going to need to find the center of our bag, because we're going to need this anyway when we go to do our gusset. Okay, now we've got the center of our bag. We're going to grab our strap, the end with none of the hardware on it. You also need to make sure that your strap adjuster is facing up. The fabric that's going to slide back and forth, you should see this when you're going to put this on here. I'll tell you what, let's put this so that you can see. There you go. It should look like that. We are going to use my table as a guide, and it's an, where are you at? It's an inch. You see our little notch right here is on that line. We're moving over an inch, and we are adding our strap. I am going to clip it just like that, and then when I get both of them done, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and just baste these in place. When you go to sew the rest of it, you might want to go ahead and connect this to your bar down at the bottom. So let's do that one more time with our other side. So I've got the piece that has the end right here. I'm going to follow it all the way down. I'm going to grab my swivel clasp. I'm going to slide that on like so, keeping it all straight, guys. It's nice and straight. Ooh, that looked a little weird for a second. Anybody else? Or just me? Okay. I think it's the print. It was just kind of like, whoa. Alright, we've kept it straight. I'm going to go back through my strap adjuster and then back down again, just like that. And then I am going to take all of this mess and throw it that way. I'm going to get my center mark right in that line, and then find an inch over and clip just like that. Let's go to the sewing machine and base stitch those in place. Alright, so I have got my stitch length at 4 because we are just basting these in place. Alright, so this step is completely optional and completely up to you, but you do have enough if you use the 40-inch straps, which is actually a pretty decent strap for this. If you had some left over because you did the 40-inch, you can take a 7-inch strip of your webbing, and I am going to make a little handle for display purposes, or just in general if you want to hang on to your bag by a handle in the back. So I am just putting one end right over my other strap, and then I'm going to take this one and bring it around so that it looks like that. I'm just keeping it straight and then kind of bending it over like that. And I'm just going to base stitch that in place as well. You can do this with a different color. It doesn't have to be the same. It's up to you. I just had the extra, and I know my customers like it, and if you want to sell some in the store, it's really nice to have like just a little extra handle to hold the bag with. So now it is the time we've all been waiting for to finish this bag. Let's go. Alright, so now we're going to work on our zipper gusset. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab 1/4 inch tape, and we're going to put it down on one side of our zipper tape all the way down. You are going to be using your zipper gusset lining or your top fabric to measure out how much zipper tape that you're going to need. The length will be in the written instructions. Alright, and then we're just going to add the tape to the other side. And you don't have to add this tape. I normally don't, but since we are using the foam and all of that, it makes everything a little thicker than it normally is. So I am using the tape today. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start peeling off my top, and then we are going to be putting right side of our outside fabric to the right side of our zipper tape, meeting up the edges. And then you're just going to tape all the way down. And the double-sided tape will make it a whole lot easier trying to deal with your lining and all of that. And your outside, especially since your outside is vinyl, it's just going to really help. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our lining pieces and put it right side to the wrong side of the zipper. This we are going to clip in place. Alright, now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way down our zipper sandwich. Alright, so I've got my stitch length at 3, and then my seam allowance is 1/4 inch. Alright, so I have got the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now what I'm going to do is something that I've been doing a lot lately, is I'm going to take the top fabric and the bottom fabric, and I am going to sew down the edge and base stitch the edge of my zipper closed so that it makes this one side of the zipper panel all into one piece, and I don't have to deal with these two separated fabrics later on. Alright, now that we have this one side done, we're going to put it over here. We're going to take our tape off, and then we are going to put right side of our vinyl to the right side of our zipper. And I don't think I mentioned it, but I'm keeping my zipper off until I get done, because it just makes it so much easier to not have your zipper on while you're trying to do this situation. It's just so much easier. So hopefully we don't forget to put the zipper on. Has anybody else been there? Just me? Probably. Alright, now we're going to take our other lining fabric right side to the wrong side of our zipper, and then we're going to clip that together. And we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to sew down 1/4 inch seam allowance and then fold out our outside fabric and our lining fabric and base stitch down the side and then top stitch down our zipper. Alright, my stitches are set to a 3 length. Back stitching. Alright, we have got our zipper gusset all completed. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our zippers on. We're going to start on one end, putting the left side in first, right side in after. Then you're going to bring your zipper down to the other end and open that up so that we can put your other zipper on the other end. Left side first, then the right side. Alright, so now we have both of our zippers on. We are not missing this step and accidentally sewing our gussets together without our zippers. So the next thing that we're going to do is set this aside. We're going to grab our bottom gusset. We're going to grab one of our D-ring straps that we made earlier. We're going to put our 1-inch D-ring on there like so. And then we are going to attach it to the center of our bottom gusset, leaving about a 1/2 inch overhang. I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and then I am going to just kind of base stitch across with a 4-stitch length. Alright, now we're going to be putting all of our gusset together. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our zipper gusset right side to the right side of our side that has the D-ring. And what I like to do is just go ahead and clip like it is. And then grab your lining fabric and put that right side to right side. And we are going to be taking this to the sewing machine. We're going to stitch across here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to be using a 3-stitch length. I am also going to go ahead while I'm doing this and put my other ends together. Now I'm going to get my lining fabric and add that to the gusset sandwich. Alright, so let's take this massive thing to the sewing machine. Alright, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch with a 3-stitch length all the way across. And then I'm going to do the other side as well. Now, before you stitch over your D-ring, make sure that your D-ring is out of the way. You don't want to accidentally hit your D-ring. So dumb me, I forgot that I was going over all of these layers with a 12 needle. That is not going to fly, home fly. So I had to change my needle out to an 18 just to go across. That was a lot of layers to ask of a 12 needle. So it broke. So when you go to do your side gussets, make sure that you change your needle. I think 18 should be good to go. It just depends on your machine. I break more size 12 needles because I completely forget that they are not like my regular needles, and I can just do whatever I want with them. The 12 needles are like, I can handle a little bit, and then that's it, buddy. I am going to show you guys what I have been doing to all of my zipper gussets. It may not be a new thing, but I haven't seen anybody else do it, so this is what I do. I am going to take my zipper gusset and fold everything inside out like that, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start clipping all the way down my zipper gusset. Making sure that my outside fabric and my lining fabric are clipped together nice and tight. And I'm going to do that on both sides. I am going to be sewing these just kind of like I base stitched the foam on. I am going to base stitch the lining fabric and the outside fabric together so that it makes it into one piece, and it makes it so much easier whenever I go to attach this to the front and back panels, it just makes it so much easier. So we're going to do that now. Alright, so I have got everything all clipped together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start where my zipper gusset and my bottom gusset meet, and I have my stitches at a 4 length. Alright, now that we have our zipper gusset into one big zipper gusset, it's pretty big. What we're going to do is we're going to put the sides together, right where the side gussets meet. We're going to put them together and then just kind of follow along. We want to find the center of the zipper gusset, and we're just going to make a little notch. There we go. We're going to make a little notch in it like that on both sides of our zipper gusset so that we have 2. And then we're going to come down and do the same thing on our bottom gusset. So we're going to hold that up. Alright, now we're going to grab our front panel because our back panel isn't quite ready yet. We're going to grab our front panel, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to find the center. So you're going to put these together, our little corner edges together, and you're going to find the center. And let it shoot at your face. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the sides and kind of follow them down. Now you are going to have a spot here, and then we're going to find the center. So you're going to kind of have to start at these 2 edges and then follow it down and around. You can smush that together, and then that way you find the center of your bottom. Okay, next thing we're going to do is get a ton of clips, and we are going to turn this outside fabric in, and then we are going to find our center notch, and we're going to match it up with our top center notch of our front of our panel. And I'm just going to put a couple of clips right there. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom panel where we made our notch there, and then find my notch in the bottom of my bottom gusset. There we go. There's the word I was looking for. Alright, we're going to match those up, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to start clipping all the way around until your gusset, another one bites the dust. Alright, you're just going to get your gusset and make it go all the way around so that it meets up. And you just clip and use as many little clips as you need so that you feel comfortable that your front panel and your zipper gusset and all is not separating from each other. Then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to sew 1/8 of an inch from the outside edge and sort of base stitch these two together. You can clip little notches where this round edge is. You can kind of clip notches 1/8 of an inch in so that this will lay a little bit flatter when you're trying to get it around that round part. Alright, so we're going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew it just like this with the gusset facing up, and I'm going to push this down and I'm going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way around. My stitch length is a 4. I still have my 18 needle in, and I'm just going to go around 1/8 of an inch connecting these two pieces. Alright, before you sew your gusset onto your bag, I like mine to the right, your little D-ring connector, because most people are right-handed. It really does not matter. You can have it on either side, whatever is best for you. But I like, when I do them for the store or I do them for a customer, I normally put them on the right. We're going to bind the inside of our inside seam. So I took a 1-inch strip of waterproof canvas. I folded it in half and then just cut it at an angle. That helps when we fold this under like this. And then we fold it again. You don't have all of that seam bulk poking out there. So I am going to get a ton of clips and I'm going to clip the mess out of this thing and go all the way around. We're going to now sew at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around this bag. If you're not confident in binding, I would go ahead and make your binding like 1.25 inches just to give yourself a little extra space for wiggle room. It's up to you. Alright, on the other end, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to snip that off. I'm going to make sure that it overlaps, and then I'm going to fold this in half again, and then just kind of at an angle, fold it down. Alright, you're all clipped up. Let's go to the sewing machine. Alright, so I've got my stitch length at a 4. You can change to black thread, which I probably should have, but I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch seam allowance all the way around now. Alright, we're almost done, guys. Woohoo! Alright, I went ahead and I took my straps and my swivel clasp and went ahead and connected these little guys so they'll be out of my way. The next thing that we're going to do real quick is we're going to do the same exact thing. We already got a clip at the top, but we did not get a clip at the bottom. We're going to need a clip at the bottom so that we can find the center. Now, with right sides together, make sure you guys are seeing this. With right sides together, your straps, everything is going on the inside. We are going to find, and make sure these are going on the inside, we are going to find our bottom notches and we are going to match those up. For the bottom of your bag, the back part of your bag, I am going to suggest a little wider binding tape just because you have a lot that you're going to be going through. These D-ring things here, your straps up at the top, and I don't think 1 inch is going to be wide enough to cover them. You're still using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but I think you just need a little wider tape just in case. So we are going to clip this all the way around. I like to start at my top and the bottom and then kind of work my way around the bag. If that's right, the rest of the bag should meet up. Alright, just like we did before, we're going to stitch in 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and then we're going to add our binding. It already looks so cute. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so I've got my stitch length at a 4. I am sewing 1/8 of an inch away from the edge just to base these pieces together. I also still have my 18 needle in. Has anybody else had any of their clips just like jump ship mid-sailing? Some of my clips were like, bye! They just went. Alright, we're doing the other binding. I went ahead and cut one that was like 1 1.25 inches just to give myself a little bit extra because of the back being so thick. And I am going to fold this over. I went ahead and cut it at an angle. And then I'm going to fold this over and smush it down so it's not going anywhere. And I like to start my binding at the top of my bags just because I know, you can't really see it from there when the bag's turned inside out. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. But you're just going to fold this in half and go all the way around the bag just like you did the front of your bag. Alright, I have got my stitch length at a 4, and we're going to just sew 1/4 of an inch in all the way around. Alright, you've done it. When we turn it inside out, we're going to get our zippers and open them up. I like to push them down as far as I can, and then we're just going to put our fists in the bottom on each side to kind of help it come out. You guys are getting the best shot from that angle, aren't you? Oh my goodness. Okay. You can just go around and straighten everything out. Now, here's my recommendation. I like to go around all of the edges and make sure none of my basin seams are showing or anything like that is showing before I call it done. Alright, so you want to go all the way around and make sure that you don't have any of your basting seams showing or anything like that. Get all of your loose threads out. Go on the back and make sure everything's good. And then, if you haven't already, you can go ahead and snap together your swivel clasps so that your straps are attached. Zip it up. You're all done. Alright guys, so what did you think? I hope you guys like this bag. A lot of love, a lot of energy went into making this bag, and hopefully you guys like your box that you get all of the hardware in. So just make sure that you check out both K&A Custom Fabrics and Fabric Therapy because they each have different bases. So what you need to do is when you're ready to purchase your box, you need to go to K&A Custom Fabrics and Fabric Therapy because they are both releasing a different fabric materials. So if you want the pebble vinyl, you go to K&A's. If you want, I can't remember some of the types, I'll try and put them on the screen for you guys. But Fabric Therapy has a lot of different fabric choices that they're going to be having for their box. So you'll have to check both of them out and see which one works for you. If you get a box and you make yours and yours is different than mine, make sure that you comment on K&A Custom Fabrics or Fabric Therapy's page because we want to see your bag. We want to see your bags made and on your little guys running around because I know that they're going to be snatching them up. Mine are going to be fighting over it. Make sure that you post them on the pages so that we can see the finished product. We love it when you guys post your stuff on the page so that we can see that you guys have purchased them and that you've made them and that you love them. Make sure that you post them on the page because we really do love seeing them. Thanks again for joining us on Faithworks Designs. Bye guys.